The party's transformation, sudden though it seemed, had been underway for a quarter century. In the turn toward nativism and a more overt racism, in the criticisms of conservative elites, in the wariness about free trade and democracy, in the sharp-elbowed, fact-light punditry. And none of it had happened behind the scenes, hidden away only to be sprung on the American people when the right candidate rolled around. It had happened in plain sight. But too many people were too attached to the idea of the party of Reagan to notice. Even though Trump helped the picture snap into focus, this book is not a prehistory of Trumpism. Instead, it is an exploration of how and why Reaganism, which in the 1980s seemed to be the future not only of the conservative movement, but of U.S. politics more broadly, collapsed so quickly. Just as importantly, it is a history of the partisans who, in the fluidity of the post-Cold War moment, seized the uncertainty of the rapidly evolving political landscape to accumulate political power, wealth, and fame. Though they made their political homes in a variety of institutions, think tanks, cable networks, Congress, political organizations, they all worked to develop a politics that was not just conservative, but anti-liberal, that leaned into the coarseness of American culture and brought it into politics, that valued scoring political points above hewing to ideological principles. In doing so, these partisans blurred the lines between the mainstream conservative movement and a violent far right that was particularly active in the 1990s and was split between acts of domestic terrorism and efforts to worm its way into mainstream politics. They courted militias and palled around with white nationalists, funneling extremism into the newly powerful Republican Party. They found that their flirtations with extremism did not end their political careers, but instead earned them a reputation for outrageousness that played well in the new media environment. The story that emerges from these different strands fundamentally shifts our understanding of the politics of the 1990s. The decade, so often described as an era of polarization, was actually an era of right-wing radicalization. Even as the Democratic Party moved right, the Republicans moved even further, adopting what were once far-right positions on issues like guns and immigration, and new procedural obstructions like extended government shutdowns and impeachment. Not all Republicans, and not all conservatives, were partisans in the 1990s. There were some who still clung to the politics of the Reagan era, and others who warned that the party was headed in the wrong direction. Political leaders like Kemp and Powell argued for a more inclusive, less radical party. But they were the outliers. By the turn of the century, the party belonged to the partisans.